So you have been taught about all the ribs. Only three ribs are left: 10th, 11th, and 12th. So what are the atypical ribs? First, second, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Okay, and typical ribs. Okay. So anyone can tell what are the features of a typical rib? Stand up. Okay, what are the ends?
Anterior and posterior.
Where we have the head, neck, and tubercle in anterior and or posterior? Posterior. Okay, sit down. So this is a typical rib or atypical rib? This one? This one? This is a typical rib, okay? So in typical rib, you have seen that in the posterior end, we have two articular facets in the posterior end, articulating with the vertebra. Do you remember? Yes. And in the anterior end, there is another articular surface for the costal cartilage. Okay, posterior end in a typical rib, we are having two articular surfaces for articulating with the vertebra, and anterior end we are having another articular surface for articulating with the costal cartilage. Okay, now this is the 10th rib. Okay, this is the 10th rib. What are the differences between these two ribs? The 10th rib is smaller than the typical ribs. Okay, small. Can you see the length? Okay, this is smaller, and also it is having only one articular surface in the posterior end. Can you see? It has only one articular surface. This is a typical one. Typical one will have two articular surfaces in the posterior end for articulating with the vertebra, but it is having only one articular surface. Okay, so 10th rib, how is it different from the other typical ribs? First is it is shorter. Second is it is having only one articular surface at the posterior end. Okay, first it is shorter, and second it is having only one articular surface at the posterior end. Rest features are similar to that of the typical rib, only two differences. First is shorter, second is only one articular surface at the posterior end. Rest are similar, that is it is having a costal groove, anterior end is having a articular surface for the costal cartilage. Rest features are similar, only short and one articular surface at the posterior end. Okay, now this is the 11th rib. Okay, this one. Now what are the differences? As you can see that this is again shorter as compared to that of the typical rib. Okay, can you see? Last. Okay, this is typical, this is the 11th atypical. Okay, so you can see that it is shorter than that of the typical rib. Again, similarly, it is having only one articular facet for articulating with the vertebra, unlike the two articular facets in case of typical rib. Okay, only one articular facet. And you know that in a typical rib we are having tubercle neck, but it does not have any neck and tubercle. Okay, can you see? Okay, it has nothing here. Okay, no neck, no tubercle, nothing. And costal groove is also very shallow, not that deep as like the typical ribs. Okay, and you can see that again this is the anterior end. You can see that it is pointed. Okay, not like the anterior end of a typical rib. Okay, this is pointed, and it is having a oval articular surface for articulating with the costal cartilage, but here the anterior end is pointed. Okay, so what are the differences in case of 11th atypical rib from the typical ribs? First, it is short. Second, it is having one articular surface. Okay, next is it does not have any neck, tubercle, nothing, and anterior end is pointed. Okay, see, anterior end is pointed, unlike this one. Okay, and also costal groove is shallow. Okay, how do you hold a rib? We hold it in a pen holding position. Okay, like you hold a pen. Okay, pen holding position. This is the posterior end, this is the anterior end, costal groove is below, and upper end is rounded, lower end is sharp. So just like a pen holding position. Okay, the way you hold your pen is a similar way you hold the rib. Okay, so 10th rib understood, 11th rib. Now 12th rib. This is your 12th rib. Okay, this is your 12th rib. Again, you can understand that it is smaller as compared to that of the typical rib. Anterior end is pointed. Okay, it has no costal groove. 11th rib, costal groove was shallow, but 12th rib has no costal groove. Okay, shallow means less deep. Okay, and it does not have any tubercle. You can see it does not have any tubercle, no neck, nothing. Okay, okay, and anterior end is pointed. Okay, now again I am telling that 10th, 11th, 12th are the atypical ribs. Okay, both of these three ribs all these three ribs are having only single articular facet for articulating with the vertebra. Typical ribs has two. One, it articulates with the numerically corresponding vertebra, and another articulates with the higher vertebra. Okay, but in case of atypical rib, 10th, 11th and 12th, it is having only one articular facet for articulating with the vertebra. Okay, these three. Now 10th, two differences. First, that it is shorter than that of the typical rib. Second is only one articular surface for articulating with vertebra. Okay. 11th, what are the differences? Again, it is short. Second is it is having one articular surface. Okay, no neck, no tubercle. Costal groove is shallow, and anterior end is pointed. Okay. 12th also similar, only just costal groove will be completely absent. Okay, one articular anterior end is similar to that of the typical rib. No, typical rib, costal cartilage. Only these two differences in 10th rib. One is it is smaller, and second is it is having one articular facet at the posterior end. Rest features are similar. Okay, so you can see here that difference from typical ribs. All the three ribs, 10th, 11th and 12th, have only single articular facet for articulating with the corresponding vertebra. Okay, it articulates with the numerically corresponding vertebra. Like 10th rib will articulate with 10th vertebra, 11th with 11th vertebra, and 12th rib will articulate with 12th vertebra. Okay. So 10th rib, as I already told, it is shorter and has only single articular facet on the head for the body of the 10th thoracic vertebra. Okay, and rest of the features are similar to that of a typical rib. 11th rib also I told, it is relatively short and it has only single articular facet for articulating with T11, no neck, no tubercle. Costal groove is shallow and anterior end is pointed. Okay. Similarly, in case of 12th rib also, costal groove will be just absent. Similar to 11th rib only. Now, what are the other name of these ribs which join from vertebra to sternum? True ribs or vertebro-sternal ribs. Okay. Now, what are the attachments of 12th rib? Okay. So, 12th rib, as you already know, it this is the anterior surface. Okay, this is the anterior surface, this is the posterior surface, this is the upper end, this is the lower end, this is the medial part, and this is the lateral part. You can see here, this is the anterior, okay, this is posterior, this is lateral end, this is medial end, this is upper, this is lower. Okay, so you can see here that first of all this muscle, okay, quadratus lumborum. This is the anterior surface. This is the anterior surface. Then medial half. This is the medial half. This is the lateral half. Can you see? This is the medial half. This is the lateral half because the ribs will be like this. Medial, lateral. So anterior surface, medial half, lower part, there will be quadratus lumborum. Okay. Anterior surface, medial half, lower part. Okay, anterior, medial, lower part, there will be quadratus lumborum muscle. Okay, now there is one quadratus lumborum. Why? Because basically it's a muscle of the posterior abdominal wall. Okay, quadratus lumborum is a muscle of posterior abdominal wall present between the psoas major muscle and transversus abdominis. Okay. Yes, it is quadrate in shape, that is why quadratus lumborum. Okay, so it is present in the anterior surface, medial part, lower one. Okay. Now surrounding this quadratus lumborum muscle, there is one fascia which is known as thoracolumbar fascia. Okay, thoracolumbar fascia, it has 3 layers: anterior layer, middle layer and posterior layer. Okay, thoracolumbar fascia basically separates the paraspinal muscles from that of the posterior abdominal wall muscles. Okay, so it has 3 layers: anterior layer, middle layer and posterior layer. So I told that here is quadratus lumborum in the lower part. Okay, so just above the attachment of quadratus lumborum there will be anterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. Okay, below will be middle layer of thoracolumbar fascia. Okay, and next is posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia in the lateral part. Okay, in the lower lateral part. See, this is the anterior surface, medial half. Okay, in the lower part we have this muscle which is the quadratus lumborum muscle. It is in case of 12th rib. Okay, anterior surface, medial half, lower part we have quadratus lumborum muscle. Then anterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia will be above this quadratus lumborum. Okay, this is the medial layer of thoracolumbar fascia, and the posterior layer is in the lower border lateral part. Okay, 3 layers: anterior above the quadratus lumborum, middle below the quadratus lumborum and posterior layer in the lateral part lower border. Okay, now these are the intercostal muscle. This red one is the intercostal muscle. So it is basically where? In the upper border or lower border? Upper border. Medial or lateral part? Medial part. Okay, and here is the diaphragm. This is upper border, lateral part along with the anterior surface. Clear? So first of all, what are the attachments in the anterior surface of the 12th rib? This is the anterior surface of the 12th rib. Okay, first medially, first we will see medially and then we will go laterally. Okay, anterior surface, medially, lower part we have quadratus lumborum, above it anterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia, below it middle layer of thoracolumbar fascia, and lower border laterally we have having posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. Okay, just above the quadratus lumborum in the upper border we are having intercostal muscle, and in the upper border lateral part along with the anterior surface we are having diaphragm. Clear? Should I tell again? Okay, so this is the anterior surface, this is the medial part of the anterior surface, and this is the lateral part. Medial part, in the lower side we are having quadratus lumborum here. Okay, in the lower side we are having quadratus lumborum. Above the quadratus lumborum, layer of anterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. Below will be middle layer, and in this lateral part, lower border, we are having posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. Now in the upper border, medial part, we are having intercostal muscle, and lateral part, upper border, we are having diaphragm. Okay. Now the posterior surface. So this is the posterior surface. Okay. It will be lumbocostal ligament. Okay, lumbocostal. So in the medial part we are having, here will be one lumbocostal ligament, here will be costotransverse ligament. Okay, so this is the posterior part. Here will be lumbocostal and costotransverse ligament. Then we are having levator costae, erectus spinae. Then 3 muscles. First will be what? First will be your serratus posterior inferior. Then you will be your latissimus dorsi over here, and then it will be your external oblique muscle of the abdomen. Okay. So two ligaments. Here will be lumbocostal ligament. Here will be costotransverse ligament. Okay. In the medial part of the posterior surface. Okay, this is the posterior surface of the 12th rib. In the lower part, in the medial part, in the lower border, near the lower border, we are having lumbocostal ligament, and here will be costotransverse ligament. Then levator costae, erectus spinae, and towards the lateral part, we are having serratus posterior inferior. Here will be your external abdominis, and here will be your latissimus dorsi. Okay. So anterior surface, medial part. In the lower part we will be having quadratus lumborum. Above quadratus lumborum, anterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. Below, middle layer of thoracolumbar fascia, and lower border lateral part will be having posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. So this border complete. Now the anterior surface, upper border. Upper border in the medial part will be having intercostal muscle, and in the lateral part will be having diaphragm. Okay. Posterior surface, medial part will be having two ligaments. One is lumbocostal, another is costotransverse ligament. Okay. And what are the muscles that will be in the medial part? Levator costae and erector spinae. Okay. So in the medial part we are having two ligaments, lumbocostal, costotransverse, two muscle, levator costae and erector spinae. Okay. Medial part over of the posterior surface. Now the lateral part of the posterior surface we are having serratus posterior inferior here, latissimus dorsi here, and here will be external oblique abdominis. Clear? So these are the muscle attachment of 12th rib. Okay. Now this part. Okay. So you have not been told about pleura, right? Okay. So like in peritoneum you have read that parietal peritoneum and visceral peritoneum. Similarly in case of pleura we have the parietal pleura and visceral pleura. Okay. So parietal pleura will be attached to the ribs. So in parietal pleura also we can divide into costal pleura, diaphragmatic pleura, mediastinal pleura. Okay. And cervical pleura. So this is the pleural relation, this part between the intercostal muscle and the quadratus lumborum. This part, this area of this 12th rib is in contact with the pleura. Okay, this area. Clear? See the upper part of the medial half of the anterior surface. So this is the anterior surface medial part. Okay, anterior surface medial part. This part is related with the pleura. Okay, and what is costodiaphragmatic recess? I told that parietal pleura can be divided into cervical, costal, diaphragmatic and mediastinal part. So the recess between the costal and the diaphragmatic pleura is costodiaphragmatic recess. Okay, it is the most dependent part of pleural cavity. Like in peritoneum, which is the most dependent part of the peritoneal cavity above the pelvic brim? Hepatorenal pouch. You have seen hepatorenal pouch? You have not seen hepatorenal pouch? Hepatorenal pouch, above the lesser sac we get collection from acute pancreatitis, but hepatorenal is the most dependent part above the pelvic brim, and below the pelvic brim will be your pouch of Douglas. Okay, so similarly costodiaphragmatic recess is the most dependent part in the pleural cavity. Now pleural tab. So you have been told about peritonitis, ascites, then hemoperitoneum, pneumoperitoneum. Okay, so pleural cavity, I told that it has parietal pleura and visceral pleura. Okay, so if suppose the pleura is inflamed, okay, then there can be collection of fluid, which is called pleural effusion, or there can be collection of blood, then it will be called hemothorax, pus, then pyothorax. Okay, similarly in case of peritoneal cavity, if there is collection of blood, it is called hemoperitoneum. Okay, so what happens when these things are collected, we need to drain it from the pleural cavity. Okay, now from where will we drain? Costodiaphragmatic recess. Okay, because it is the most dependent area, all the collections will be present in that area only. Okay, costodiaphragmatic recess. So we need to drain it from the pleural cavity. How do you drain it? We take a needle and along the mid-axillary line we insert it in the intercostal space. Okay, then we drain the fluid from the pleural cavity. Now most important clinical question is that from where we enter the needle. Okay, so where are the vein structures present in a rib? VAN, vein artery nerve. Costal groove. So costal groove is present above or below? Below. So see, if I insert my needle through here, there is maximum chances that if I insert my needle through here is a costal groove. So obviously this neurovascular bundle will be damaged. So what happens, suppose if I want to insert my needle through this space, okay, for draining the fluid, I will always enter through the upper border of the lower rib, okay, because if I insert my needle through here, okay, if I insert my needle through this part, it will injure the neurovascular bundle, because here is a costal groove. In this part, there is costal groove where is the neurovascular bundle. So I should always enter my needle through this part, that is the upper border of the lower ribs. Clear? Why? Because if I enter my needle through this place, it will injure the neurovascular bundle, because costal groove is present at the lower part of the rib. So I have to always insert the needle through the upper border of the lower rib. Okay, here is no costal groove, nothing, no neurovascular structure, so it will not get injured. Okay. Now notching of rib. What happens whenever it's basically a radiological finding. Notching of rib is basically a radiological finding. We can see it only in X-rays. What happens whenever our brachial artery or axillary artery gets blocked, or coarctation of aorta? Do you know coarctation of aorta? Basically, the aorta is constricted. Okay, coarctation of aorta. What happens? The posterior intercostal artery get dilated and tortuous. That is why we see this notching of rib. Can you see this? Ribs like this. So this is basically the notching of ribs. Okay, why? What is the main reason? The posterior intercostal arteries get tortuous and dilated. This is a radiological finding which will indicate that the brachial artery or axillary artery is blocked. Clear? Next is fracture of ribs. So most common site of fracture of rib is the angle. Okay, angle is present just lateral to the tubercle. You have seen in typical ribs. So angle. So can you tell me why this first rib is less likely to get injured? Clavicle. It is covered by the clavicle, so it is less likely to get injured. And I told that in 11th and 12th rib, it is not having any angle. Okay, so these are also less likely to get injured. So basically the vertebrosternal ribs are mostly prone to injury. And the most common site of injury in case of rib is the angle of the rib. Okay, angle. Now here you can see that basically these three ribs, there is fracture. Can you see? So when two or more ribs, okay, consecutive ribs are fractured at two or more sides, okay, so you can see that two or more ribs, here are three ribs, it got fractured at two or more sides. So this is basically a flail chest, okay, flail chest, see here, okay. When two or more consecutive ribs are fractured at two or more sides, then this we call this condition as flail chest. Now what happens? You can there is paradoxical movement of the respiratory movements. What do you mean by a paradoxical respiratory movements? Exactly opposite of that normal. You can see that here when the person is inspiring or inspiration, the loose part of the chest wall is sucked in. Can you see? It is coming inside, but naturally what happens? It should go outside, okay, and similarly in case of expiration, it is just coming outside. So this is the paradoxical movement of the rib, just opposite to that of the normal movements. Clear? So what we said, first of all, 10th rib, what was the differences between typical rib and 10th rib? Shorter and single articular surface. Okay, now 11th rib, shorter, single articular surface, no neck, no tubercle, no angle, and anterior end is sharp and pointed. Okay, costal groove, okay. 12th rib, okay. Now attachments. What we told, in the anterior surface, medial part, lower part we are having quadratus lumborum. Above it anterior layer, below it middle layer, and lateral lower part we are having the posterior layer. Okay. Now above upper border, medially will be intercostal and laterally will be diaphragm. Okay, posterior surface, in the medial part 2 ligaments, costotransverse and lumbocostal ligament. Okay, costotransverse and lumbocostal, 2 muscle, levator costae, erectus spinae, medial part over. Okay, now laterally we are having serratus posterior inferior, latissimus dorsi and external oblique abdominis muscle. Okay, muscle attachment clear? Okay, now what I told, from suppose while doing pleural tapping, from where should we enter the needle? Upper border of the lower limb. Why? Yes, band structure will get injured, which is present in the costal groove in the lower part of the rib. Clear? Now the costal cartilages. So these are the costal cartilages. Okay. So what are the costal cartilages? These are basically the unossified part of the ribs. Okay. So these are the costal cartilage. So you can see that till 7th costal cartilage, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. These are directly attached with the sternum. Okay, and 8th, 9th, 10th, they combine together with the 7th and join. Okay, till 7th they are directly attached with that of the sternum. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Till 7th they are directly attached with the sternum. 8, 9, 10, 10 join together to the 7th one, 7th costal cartilage. Okay, so basically they provide elasticity to the thoracic wall. Now again similar to that of the ribs, it is having anterior surface, posterior surface, medial end, lateral end, upper border and lower border. Okay. Okay. So what is this? Okay. And this? Body of the sternum. Okay, so you can see that the first costal cartilage is attached with the manubrium. This joint is primary cartilaginous joint or synchondrosis. Okay, rest all are synovial joint. Okay, only this joint. Okay, first costal cartilage joining with the manubrium. This is primary cartilaginous joint or synchondrosis. Okay, rest all these joints will be your synovial joint. Only this one is primary cartilaginous joint or synchondrosis. Okay, this first one. Clear? Okay. So the medial part is attached with that of the sternum and the lateral part will be attached with the anterior border of the ribs. Okay. Now the muscle attachment. First is internal intercostal muscle and external intercostal membrane. This is attached to the superior border and the inferior border of the ribs. Okay. Internal intercostal muscle and external intercostal membrane. Superior border and inferior border. Next is pectoralis major, anterior surface of the first, 6th or 7th ribs. Okay. This is the anterior surface. First, 6th or 7th ribs, there will be pectoralis major muscle. Next is rectus abdominis, 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilage. Okay. Next is internal oblique abdominis aponeurosis, 7th, 8th and 9th costal cartilage. Okay. Pectoralis major in 6th and 7th costal cartilage, rectus abdominis 5th, 6th, 7th and internal oblique abdominis 7th, 8th, 9th. Okay. Now sternocostalis. Okay. Sternocostalis, this is the posterior surface. Okay, sternocostal is attached on the posterior surface of 2nd to 6th. Okay, posterior surface of 2nd to 6th. Then transversus abdominis, posterior surface of 7th to 12th. Subclavius, first costal cartilage anteriorly and sternothyroid, first costal cartilage posteriorly. And costoclavicular means between the rib and clavicle. Costoclavicular ligament and articular disc of sternoclavicular ligament it is attached on the upper part of the first costal cartilage. Okay, so these are the muscle attachment in case of costal cartilage. Clear? Okay, so costal cartilage, there is nothing much. These are basically hyaline cartilages. Okay, unossified part of ribs. It has its upper border, lower border, anterior surface, posterior surface, medial end and lateral end. Medial end of all this till the 7th costal cartilage is directly attached to the sternum and the lateral border is attached to the anterior end of the ribs. Okay, and 8th, 9th and 10th join with the 7th costal cartilage. Okay, so 11th and 12th ribs are also called the floating ribs. Why? Because see, their anterior end is free. It is not joined with the sternum. Okay, so these are called floating cartilages. And 8th, 9th, 10th are called vertebrochondral. Okay, why? Because they are attached with the costal cartilage. They are not directly attached with the sternum. Clear?